Thanks for watching our videos, and expressing interest in the JetFloat product. In this video we will go over the assembly of a drive on dock. Please refer to our other videos concerning the parts and tools themselves.
The first thing we will need to do is build the rear section of the drive line. You'll see this shortly. To disassemble these units, you will take your assembly key, place it into the connecting pin, and 45-degree turn. These are 45-degree lock fasteners, which means at any 45 degrees it is either locked or unlocked. If your Canadian leaf, your maple leaf, is facing the same way as they are on the units, it will be locked. If it is diagonal, it'll be unlocked. Same thing, if it is perpendicular, locked, unlocked, and so on and so forth. Once you have it unlocked, simply pull up and remove your pin. This will release the units. Now you can work with them independently. With each JetFloat unit, you will notice that on each corner there is an indentation designating which lug is which. For example, you have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. 2, 3, 4, 1. What this denotes is the height difference in the lugs. You see how this is lower than this. They will have to be stacked in a certain order for these to be correct, level, and work properly. Now, when you do a drive on, because the blocks are going to face skid side up, so your boat drives onto the slippery surface instead of the non-skid surface, more friction, less friction, your lug heights change. This means that your 1 now becomes a 4, your 2 becomes a 3, your 3 becomes a 2, and your 4 becomes a 1.
This is a simple cheat sheet referring to lug heights and how they change when assembling your drive on dock. Take a quick photo.
All you're doing is changing the height of these lugs. You see, if I flip this back over, now this is higher than this. When I flip this way, now this lug is higher than this lug. That is the most confusing part for people in this process, is to simply remember that a 1 becomes a 4, a 2 becomes a 3, a 3 becomes a 2, and a 4 becomes a 1.
One more time.
However, when you begin to put the units together, you will note if they are not level or they're sitting a little wonky, and you will make the adjustment as needed. For this first section, we will need these low pros to build the beginning of the drive on. I will set these up, set the camera up, set these up, and then show you how they go together. You will see this is the very first section of our drive on, where our low pros come together. Simply follow the legend and you will come up with this. Now, when you put the blocks together, what I meant earlier is, and will be more evident on a level surface, but today we're working out in the yard putting this together. But if you put this block in the wrong position, you can see how that one is elevated, whereas when it's in the right position, it is flush. This is the correct way. Again, I put this under here. You see how the blocks are all cattywampus and not flush. You can always reach your hand underneath the unit and right here On that corner, you can feel the number or the indentation for the lug. This is a 1, 2 dots, which means in this case, since it's flipped over, it will be a 3. Now, once you have your first section in place, it's time to install your edge fasteners. Edge fastener is no different than any typical nut and bolt. Put it in. You'll see the notches in the unit and the notches in the edge fastener, so they will sit flush. Do not be afraid to use force, a little bit of force, to get these to line up and to go in the hole. If you watch some of our other videos and further through this video, I'll show you some techniques if you're having trouble lining these up. But for the first section, it's usually pretty easy and doesn't require a lot. Now that those are seated, simply attach your nuts. And use either your nut wrench or your nut socket to tighten these. Since these are exposed, I'm going to use the nut wrench. It's simpler to get in here and tighten these up. Run them down as far as you can by hand, and then get a good snug. You do not need to tighten these so much that you break them. Just a nice snug fit. Make sure the nut is seated well. Put a little bit of muscle into it, and that's going to be good. We'll repeat. We'll run this one up as far as we can by hand. Once we've gone as far as we can by hand, we'll take our nut wrench, and again, snug this nut down good and snug. Now, one thing that I should have noted earlier is that when you assemble your dock, you want to make sure that all the units are facing the same direction. When you are using the units that are non-skid up, it is easy to tell because you have these maple leaves. When they are skid side up, it's a little more complicated, but not very hard. Right here on every unit it says made in Canada. If made in Canada is facing the same way on every unit and is the same way as this leaf, then you're going to be good. Another way to tell is on the back of these units, every one of them has a plug. Same on the low pros. So if your plugs are all facing the same direction, you know your orientation is correct. If you put one of these blocks in and they are not facing the same direction, they will line up, but they will not install properly. So make sure that all your units are facing the same way. In this case, the easiest way for me to show you is this made in Canada is all facing the same direction. And when I come over to my standard units, my maple leaf is facing the same direction. The top of the maple leaf is facing the same direction as the made in Canada. Now that we have our first small section of the drive-on built, we will refer to our legend again. And here we see we have two options. We can continue to build out, or in this case, what I would do is put our side units on. These are double units. You see I have one here already. Now, because a double unit only has one lug in the middle, there always needs to be 4 tabs or 4 connections. You see here 1, 2, 3. So in this case, we're going to need a spacer. And looking at the unit, my numbers are 3 and 4. On double units, a 3-4 is a 4. So what we will need to do is take one spacer, place it on top of that lug, and then simply pick up our units and put them on top. Let's see if I can do that one-handed. So it will look like this. Now, again, you can look or feel under here and check. I have, if you can see this, there you go, 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. So that 3 has now become a 2 because a 3 becomes a 2. This is a 3, so that 2 should go directly on top of this. Same thing on that side. This is a 4. That's going to be a 3, so it's going to go on top. Now, obviously we need to put a double on the other side. So what we'll do is take our assembly key and break this set of units apart so we can take these doubles off and put them over here. Again, you will insert your assembly key, quarter turn, pick up, and now your double unit is free. Inside of each double unit connection are the 2 spacers. This is because, as noted before, double units only have 2 lugs on these center connections. So that would be a 1, 2 would be a 1. This would actually be your 2 and your 3, and then 3, 4, so that'd be your 4. So if you had to put these together, you would run those 2, put it together, and put your connecting pin in. Essentially every spot on the dock will have 4 lugs that come together. Now, we'll take our double unit over here, put it next to our section that we are building. Note, I have the maple leaf, the top of the maple leaf, facing the same direction as the Made in Canada. Or again, you can take a look at this plug and this plug. They're facing the same direction. All plugs should face the same direction. Now that we have this in place, we can repeat the same thing we did on that side, except this side, your numbers are 1, 2, which means that this is a 1. So you're gonna have this will be your 2, your 3, and your 4. Now, this one can be a little tricky to do on your own, but very possible. What I recommend is having someone help you would be one thing, but would be to put your edge fastener in this side. And once you get it in there, do not be afraid to give it a little kick or a stomp or a slight hit with a mallet. This product is made to be boat to be driven on. Now when you get to this side, I will have to put the camera down, see if I can get an angle for it. You have options of putting something underneath these units, maybe your assembly key or something, or your nut socket. See how it's elevated? So I got a little bit of lift there, so I'll go to this other side and pick up this side, work my edge fastener in. Again, do not be afraid to give it a little tap, a stomp. Then what I do is reach under and attach my nut. Now you know that this section is not going anywhere. grab another nut and do the same thing on this side. We will simply reach under and loosely attach our nut. Now, the first few sections, after you pre-build them like this, it's pretty simple to just pick them up, set them upright, use your nut socket to run these down. Again, you want these good and snug, but you're not trying to break it off. Always use a ratchet. Do not use a drill or an impact driver, as it will cause damage to either the nut socket itself or potentially the edge fastener. And if that happens, it will not be a warranted claim. Same thing on the other side. Make sure all your edge fasteners are tight. Okay, so that is our first small section in our drive on. That is this double and all of this here. So now we have to build our next section. Also, do not forget to note your legend so you can put the edge fasteners as noted. Again, running these down as far as I can by hand to make my life a little easier. And then using, in this case, my nut wrench to snug them up. Personally, myself, I like to build these all in small sections, especially if you're not building it close to the dock. You can put, two people can pick this up pretty easily, put it on a dock cart, or some type of a cart to get it down to your dock, or simply throw it in the water, etc. A lot of times what we do is we will pre-build these sections, take them down to the dock, and then assemble them on the floating dock and push it into the water as we go. You will see some of the other videos and time lapses of us building these and doing that exact process. Now, what I do is move this out of the way for the time being. And refer back to my legend. In this case, I will need a total of 5 low profile units and 2 double units. So I will get my 2 double units, and 2 low profile units. Now, I'm sure you may not be able to see it from there, but my Canadian leaf, the top is facing this way. This one, it's facing that way. You see, there's my plug. On this one, no plug. If I attempt to put this together, it will not work properly. Again, everything needs to face the same direction. I'll verify my plug is to the back, and my Made in Canada is facing this way. Same thing, plug to the back. What I like to do is line the 2 low pros up first, and then get your double units close. Now again, because we are using double units, we are only going to have 1, 2, 3 lugs. So we're going to need a spacer. This is a 1, 2. So this is a 1. So we need to drop a spacer on top of here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The other side's going to be the exact opposite. Because we have a 3, 4, that's going to be a 4. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now in this case, what I like to do is simply take this side and get it up onto the other unit. I'll take my edge fastener, because this side is on top, it holds itself slightly. Gonna pinch here, give it a little wiggle, and boom, it's in there. Again, reaching under. And running my nut down so I know that will not go anywhere. Now we come back to this side. The smaller the pieces that you can use to put it together, the easier it's going to be on you. This side, what I'd like to do is, again, it's easier if you have a second person, but it's to put some weight on this opposite corner so it picks up. Put some weight on this opposite corner so it picks the units up, and then again slide that in. And again, I'm going to reach under and get my nut started on my bolt. Now again, I know this piece is good to be picked up. As it's small, it's easy enough to just simply pick it up and use my nut socket to tighten it. So, we'll run them down. The key with drive-ons is to try to make these drive-on sections in the smallest pieces possible. That's what's going to make it the most maneuverable and workable. We are good and snug. That's another piece of our drive-on section. Now we need to attach, that is this section here. So now we need to attach these 3 low pros. Now, depending on your setup and build, sometimes you'll run into small sections like these that are a little more complicated than something like this. There's a lot of little tricks. You could try to do it piece by piece. In this case, what I'm going to do is put me an edge fastener here and here that I know where it's going to come back out. But this will help hold these 3 units together while I attach it to that section there. So I'm going to just simply put in my edge fasteners, run my nuts up, and just snug them by hand, just enough where they're not going to try to get away and spin and, you know, all fall out of place. Again, I've ensured that all of my made in Canada is facing the same way and all of my plugs are facing the same way. Everything is faced the same direction, so when I pick this piece up, it will go onto that with no problems. Now, you can see you have a 2 here, and this is a 1, 2, so that's a 3. So, and you can kind of see here that there's a large gap. What it's going to be is this is a 1, and this will be a 4. A 1 and a 4. So what we're going to do is try and simply, well, I would check this. This is a 1, so that means it's a 4. So that will be on the bottom. So what we're going to do is kind of slide this in there. And again, because we're kind of like making a sandwich here. Slide that in there. This side I have a 4, so it's a 1, it goes on top. Now, it's not perfect, but you see that it's somewhat holding itself in place. Pick up from the rear, take your your edge fastener, work it in there. Now, right now I can tell by the way this block is sitting, that's not seated properly. But for now, you see how it came up? I'm going to just work it down so I get the units in their correct locations. Now these low pros are actually hanging on themselves. I don't have to hold this side anymore. One good hit, that's now seated. Still having a little trouble here, so I'm going to push down on this corner. I'll push on this rear corner to help get that lug in place. And now, those two edge fasteners are in. We can take the nuts off of here and put them onto there. That way, these units are now in place and we don't have to worry about them. Those were kind of just sacrificial in there for the time being. Edge fasteners will go in there, but not until we put all the pieces together. So now that I've removed those two sacrificial edge fasteners, again I'm going to lay down and run my nut down onto my edge fastener. Process for this side. Once I have the nut started, I'll do the same thing. I will pick this section up because it is workable with one person and simply run the edge fastener down, the nut down on the edge fastener with my nut socket. I have those guys snugged up now. So that is the next large section of our drive-on assembly. So now we have this piece and this piece. Again, I'm leaving them in small sections because if I had to take this down the dock to install it, I can put this and that on a cart and simply wheel them down the dock and two people can easily handle them. So now we have this rear section and this section. So our next section and our last low pro will be here. Again, if you follow the legend, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you ever need help, all you have to do is reach out to us. We're always here to help our clients any way we can. Okay, so here are the units that we need for our last pre-build section of the drive-on. Again, my Canadian leaves. The top is facing this way. Made in Canada, same way. Or again, another easy way to know, all my plugs on these units are facing the same direction. Now, again, because we're using doubles, we're only going to have 1, 2, 3 lugs. So we're going to need a spacer on each corner. 1, 2 makes that a 1. So you have 1, 2, 3, and this is going to be your 4. So because that is the low side, again, that is going to be the harder side of these two to put together. So I'm going to go to this side where I have a 3, 4, 3, 4, which makes this a 4, a 2. And when I check the bottom of this block, I have 4 indentations, which means it's a 1. So now I have a 1, 2, 3, 4. So just like last time, we're going to take our edge fastener. We're going to slide our units together. And I'm going to pick up on this lower corner to help line this up. You see a little wiggle and a little shaking. That'll work it a little bit. In a little hit or two, I can get that in there. Again, I'm going to reach under. get my nut started on that edge fastener. That way, these 4 units now are all held, and I don't need to hold this side. So what I'll do, again, is slide this section together. Edge fastener. Since it's giving me a little trouble, I'm going to put some pressure on this corner. I'm putting pressure on this corner so that I can work this edge fastener in. Camera fell on that last hit where I was able to get it to seat. Now, sometimes you have to, like I said, put weight in corners, and sometimes even put a sacrificial pin like you saw in the last section to get these to seat so you get them started. And repeat the same process. Simply get our nut started. Then we'll pick the section up. Take our nut socket. Get these good and snug. Okay, so now when I double check my legend, I have successfully built all of the drive-on sections. All these units up top can easily be added after. The next part is the last drive-on section, and probably the funnest. We're going to take these 3 sections and put them all together. So now we'll put the first large section to the middle section. Now you can actually kind of see that, again, we have a large space between these two and no space between these two. You can reach your hand under and verify, but this is going to be a 2-3 and a 1-4. That's why there's the gap. What you need to ensure is you have this end correct. I reach under, it's a 1, 2, 3 dots. I got 3 protruding dots, which makes this a 2 because it is upside down. Remember, 1 becomes a 4, 2 becomes a 3, 3 becomes a 2, and 4 becomes a 1. So what we're gonna do is start on one side and work these into each other. So see, I've just barely have that started, but now I'm having contact here, so I need to kind of pick this up and slide them together again. Now, the easiest thing to do is, as soon as you get one, put you a temporary pin in, because as you try to work this side over, that is going to come out. So we're going to take some edge fasteners. These are going to be sacrificial, so we won't even need the nuts. And we're just going to get it in there enough. So there it is. Now we can continue to work these sections together. So again, I'm going to give this a little lift, a little push. Now you can see how that guy's starting to come together. So this one's a little closer, that one's a little closer. So now we need to work on this end. Again, I know this is going to go in the middle of those two. I'm going to pick up and give it some slide. Now we have these sections mated. We're going to take our edge fastener. Once you get those notches lined up, you can give that a stomp. You're not going to hurt it. Now we're going to remove our temp pin and get it in this hole. Give it a stomp. Those two are ready to get nuts. However, we need to add a double on each side with edge fasteners. Instead of having that large section to work with previously, I broke this down. That way I can simply come and put 2 doubles in and it'll be good. Now that I have my 2 doubles, I will verify they're facing the right direction. Again, plugs facing the same direction, maple leaf facing the same direction. As long as you do this, you'll always be okay. Now, when we go to put this double in, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will not need a space here because we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 lugs. So we make sure this side is correct. Oh, all right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, we're good. But here, my 3 is below my 4, so I need to correct that before I put those edge fasteners in. Now, here we are back to a 3 lug situation. I have a 1, 2, but it's a double. I only have 1 lug. I have 1 lug, 2 lug, 3 lug. So I need 1 spacer. Here's my 1. This will be my 2. This will be my 3, and the low pro will be my 4. So I'm just going to put this here, simply give it a little lift, we're good to go. Now I'm going to verify 3, 4. 3 is on top of 4, we're good. 1 is on top of 2, 3 and 4, so we're good. This double is now installed. We just need to simply get our edge fasteners and put them in. So a lot of times these might fight you some. Again, you can try and wiggle and, you know, see, sometimes they'll go. And you have to make sure the notches are lined up for it to get all the way flush. However, if you ever do have a problem getting these to line up or not being able to pull them correctly, you can take your assembly key or shovel handle, etc., and put it inside of those holes and use that to kind of pry them in the direction they need to go. I will, if you will see more on this. So I have the edge fastener in. I'm going to give it a stomp. Again, you do not need to be overly light with these. So now we have that double. We need to add this double. So we're going to grab our double. Come to our side. Double check our unit. Uh-oh. This maple leaf and that maple leaf aren't facing the same direction. There's no plug here, but there's a plug there. Need to spin our unit around. Now our maple leafs and our plugs are the same direction. As long as you keep note of that, you'll be okay. Again, this is going to be the same process as the other side. On our corner we have 1, 2. So this is correct because 1 is above the 2. Now, we have 1, 2. This is going to be the 3, as you see. 1, 2, 3, and this is the 4. So it needs to go exactly where it's already going. And you got to just give it a little force to get it started. And now that we're in there, we're good. Here we are again with the double. So we have a 1, 2. Your spacer will be your 3. and 4, because a 3-4 makes this a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing, we slide them together. Now, again, I was saying, if I had trouble getting these to line up, I can put this assembly key in here and kind of pry on it, and you see how that unit moves? That's going to help give me the leverage to pull the unit where it needs to be. So again, we will grab our edge fasteners. Install them here. Give them a stomp. Nice and flush. And this is giving me a little bit of trouble. So I'm going to adjust it, give it some stomps. She's good to go. Now we're ready to apply nuts. So once you have all your edge fasteners in, it's time to put the nuts on. This is where it is helpful again to have another person, or even to be able to lean it up, or something of the sort. What I do is I will pick up one end and push a unit underneath to hold it. I'll show you this now. So there's our sections. What I will do is get a unit nearby that's ready. Because again, you can pretty easily pick all of this up. Slide this under, and now you'll have room to crawl under here and put on all your nuts. Let's see if we can get you in. So I'm going to take a handful of nuts and my nut socket with a small, in this case 3-inch extension, and simply work my way from one side to the other. Now you can easily lift this up higher, but when I'm by myself, this is just easy. Same thing, good and snug, and then just shimmy on down. Attach your nuts. Attach your nuts at all needed locations, snug properly, and then you'll be able to move on to the next section. Now that we have this section built, all the edge fasteners installed, and all the nuts ran down and snugged, it's time to install the last section of our drive line. This process is going to be the exact same as the last one, just a smaller piece, which makes it a little easier. I'm going to slide it into position and note the numbers on our units. 1, 2. So we're good because the 2 is under the 1. Now we have 3, 2, 3. So it has to go between the 1 and the 4. Now, sometimes this can be tricky and it takes a little bit of effort. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll stand or kneel down on this unit. See how that gave me some slack? And kind of just have to shimmy this unit into place. Now, you see I have it started, and on the same note, I have this side started as well, just barely. And I know that this is correct. 3 is over the 4. So because I got both of those kind of started and it's a small section, I'm gonna try to come to the rear and push it in all at once. If I push it in pretty straight and square, you'll see everything stayed in line. Now, you see that these are not quite lined up. So we're going to go get our assembly key and do the exact trick I was telling you. I'm going to take my assembly key, insert it in this hole, and then pry. So now we are a lot closer. So now we're going to take, while I'm still holding pressure with the other hand, try and work our edge fastener in. And if not, we can come back, try and switch it. We'll try this side instead. Still not working, so we're going to put our assembly key out here on the very outside. And if all else fails, take your edge fastener and put it in there just to get it started. That's going to hold that corner right. We're going to take our assembly key, put it back into here, give it a pry. Now that hole is almost completely lined up. This edge fastener should give us much less trouble. Still takes some force, but once it gets started, so now we're started. So now I can simply give it that good stomp. Now we can remove this edge fastener, because it will not belong there in the end, and see if we can make it go this hole. All right, I got it started. Now we're going to try and give it a stomp. Line the lugs up. Good to go. That is one way to use the assembly key or a shovel handle, etc., to pry the units closer together to make it easier. Now we still have to put 2 nuts on here, so I'm going to do the exact same thing we did last time. I'm going to pick up this end and slide a unit under there to give me the height. Alright, now you can push that under if you needed more height, but I know that I'll be able to shimmy under, attach those 2 nuts, snug them down, and the drive-on section of this drive-on assembly is complete. Okay, so now I have run down all the nuts, everything is snug. We're going to double check our diagram, and everything that's on our diagram is installed. This section of the drive-on, the hardest section, is complete. Just confirm. Now we need to install the units on each side. These are far easier and can easily be done in the water or on the dock. These use simply connecting pins instead of the edge fasteners and can be installed and tightened from the top. So to finish out this drive-on, after looking at my legend or my plan, I see that I'm going to need 1 single unit here and 1 double unit here on each side. You see I have them laid out to complete my drive-on. So, single unit, again making sure that my maple leaf is facing the same direction and my plug is facing the same direction. I am going to push it into its location. Again, note the outside 3, 4. Right now my 3 is below my 4, so I need to pick that up and get it on top. Now we're correct. 3 is above the 4. Now this is one of those situations where the 2 units come together and there's a double. So we have a 1, a 2, a 3, 4. But this is a double, so the 3, 4 is a 4. So we need a spacer. So we go 1, 2, and we're gonna just put this right in there. That's gonna be your 3, and this unit's gonna be the 4. So what might be easier is to put this underneath, kind of on your hand. Again, I'm making sure that my 3 on this side is above my 4. And with 2 hands, it's a little easier, but you just get that in there in the right spot. Now you have 1, 2, your spacer in there is your 3, and your 4. And we're correct here. As long as your numbers are always correct, you'll be fine. Now we're gonna take our connecting pin, similar to the edge fastener. Gonna kind of give it a little wiggle, and then once it's actually in there, again, you see it's on a 45-degree angle right now. This maple leaf at this point is not 90 degrees like this, because that is an unlocked position. So once you got it in there, give it a little firm stomp. See, it's still at 45 degrees. That means it is unlocked. So we need to take our assembly key and simply give it a twist. Now our maple leaf is the same direction as all the other maple leaves. So we're going to basically repeat that same process with this double unit. So now we have, again, a 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. See here, we have 4 lugs. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So we won't need a spacer here. As long as you have 4 lugs, you will not need a spacer there. You can ensure that we are correct here. Oh, but look what we have here. 2 doubles are coming together, and all we have is 2 lugs. So we know that 1, 2 is a 1, and 3, 4 is a 4. So we're going to need to take 2 spacers, 2 and 3, and just simply place them on top of your 4. Slide your unit in, ensure everything is correct. Take your connecting pin. See, sometimes they slide in even easier than others, and I'm lacking 1 connecting pin, so get that guy. Same thing on that 45-degree angle. Now, if you're having a really hard time and it won't start at all, you might have to do the assembly key trick. But if you kind of wiggle and just put a little weight on it, sometimes it'll get started. Once it's started, again, a firm stomp, or seated. Same process. You're simply going to take these, turn them 45 degrees so that the maple leaf is facing the same direction on all of our units. So our pins and our units, all the maple leaves are all facing the same direction. So that side of the drive on is completely finished. Now we need to repeat the process on this side. So we're gonna need our single unit. But look, here we are again with 3 lugs, 1, 2, 3. So we know we're gonna need a spacer, just like on the other side. So we'll take our spacer, check our numbers. 1, 2 on the double, which means it's a 1. This is a 3, this is a 4, so we're missing a 2, so we need our spacer to be our number 2. In this case, it's easy. We just put it right on top, slide that unit in, verify everything else is correct. 1, 2, correct. And that's a 4, so it's on the bottom, so we're correct. So we're going to, again, simply take our connecting pin, give it a little wiggle, and sometimes you can just use your hand, but a good firm stomp always confirms. Again, assembly key, lock that into position. Now we'll get our last unit, our double unit. We're almost done, guys. Set it into position. Again, we have 4 lugs in this corner, so we are good to go. But we only have 2 here. You know what that means? We're gonna need 2 spacers. So we have 1, 2, which makes this a 1, 3, 4 makes that a 4. So here's our 2 spacers. This is going to act as our 2 and 3. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Give that a little shove. Ensure everything is in the correct locations. Man, that's going to be hard for our connecting pin to really get in that hole. So I'm going to use the old assembly key trick, and we're going to pry that up. Now, because it's still a little bit off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop back 1 unit, 1 set, and get that started. I was able to pry this. Now that one's in. Now that that is in, this should go in a lot easier. Now I already have it started, so I'm just going to get up here, give it a good little stomp. Our connecting pins are in. So now all we need to do is lock our connecting pins. And that is the bulk of this drive one. The only thing left would be extra edge fasteners or cleats, depending if you got them. Your plan and every other plan might not be the same. So we will refer back to our legend. Okay, we see we need an edge fastener here, here, there, and there. All you're gonna do is come over here, get your edge fastener. Oh, I'm still cleaning that part. Just like any other one we've done. Stick it in there. And you see, it's a little tough. Might have to give it a hit, a little stomp. You know, look, there we go. Get the little tabs lined up all the way in. Put your nut on and tighten it down. Now, for the 2 edge fasteners on the front of the dock, it's a little bit different. You see the gap. Look at the numbers. We have a 1 and a 4. So we're gonna need to put us 2 spacers for your 2 and your 3. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Put your edge fastener in, tighten it up, you're good to go. The whole process in building these is quite simple. Try not to overthink it. It is stressful. It will frustrate you. If you get frustrated, take a step back, take a breath. Make sure all of your plugs, all of your emblems, all of your made in Canadas, make sure it's all facing the same way, because we see that happen a lot where people think they're on a roll and they just start putting it together, and then they don't realize that they put one block the wrong direction and now it's messed everything up. So just pay attention to that. Take your time. Pay attention to your plan. That's why we send this to you. And if you still can't figure it out and you're still having issues, just give us a call. We will help you any way we can. That's pretty much a wrap for this drive on. Look forward to making more videos with more explanations, and we'll see you all in the future. Thank you. One other small recommendation that we do on every drive on is at the entrance to your drive on, where your boat's going to come in into this cutout, you're going to want to cut each one of these tabs off. You can do this at the beginning or at the end. What I use is simply a sawzall with a metal blade and cut close but not into the unit. So I'm going to run right along this line. I'll show you after I cut them. So you see I've cut this tab off. I left just a little bit there as to not damage the unit. This is the lug that was attached. Now you're going to want to take some sandpaper and just gently smooth that out. I'm going to repeat the process on the other side, and I'll show you what it looks like as a final. So now we have done the same thing on the opposite side. And then we will come back and again smooth this with sandpaper. Now, when you drive in, you no longer have these lugs or the ears for the front of your boat to hit on. This just is a simple process to help alleviate any type of damage done to the boat as it drives on and off of the dock.